Hi, everybody. It's Dr. Sam Robbins. Sex is always a hot topic for most people, but today's topic is about the top 10 health risks of not having sex very often, or you haven't had sex for a while. Now, this, if you're a virgin and you're holding yourself, for marriage and all that, fantastic. Obviously, if you're young, this doesn't pertain to you. But I'm talking about people who have used to have sex, maybe in a relationship, or maybe you're married, but you haven't had sex in a while. Maybe many months, or at least a year. So that's what today's topic is about. Now, this is important mainly because there has been a huge decline in sex being reported by people between the ages of 18 to 24. There's actually a 31% increase in this reporting. So that means between the age of 18 to 24, there's an additional 31% of people saying they haven't had sex for almost a year. Additionally, in the inactivity of sex between the ages of 25 to 34 has also increased by almost 15%. Even with couples who live together, there's been a huge drop by as much as 25%. So again, there is a decline in people having sex. Now, what are the potential solutions and what are the causes? I'll discuss that a little bit later in the video. Let's start with the top 10 health risks. And by the way, my number 10 is my favorite. It's mainly because there's an episode about Seinfeld with George and Elaine. So let's get started. All right, the first one, it pertains to guys, and it's erectile dysfunction. As the saying goes, use it or lose it. In a 2008 study in the American Journal of Medicine, the abstinence, basically not having sex, increases the likelihood of erectile dysfunction and impotence. So that's not good. And I'll give you more reasons for this later. However, not ejaculating regularly can also cause prostate growth and prostate cancer. For what it's worth, the good news is that at least, you can take care of the ejaculation thing on your own. So, try to do that at least 1 or 2 times a week just for prostate health. If you're, a guy and you're alone. Number 2 problem is vaginal problems. As guys will complain about, not having sex can cause erectile problems for men. In women, sometimes they say the vagina, not having sex for a while, maybe gets smaller or tighter, which actually might be a positive for women and their partners. Or maybe the joke is if you haven't had sex in a while, the vagina's, growing cobwebs and so forth. Again, that's just a joke. However, the truth is that women's pelvic floor muscles actually gets weaker and atrophies and shrinks by not having sex. And this can lead to bladder problems, urine leakage, and also incontinence. Now, this actually, you can see it being a problem in older women, maybe the age of over 40 or 50. They are not having sex for a while. Women will complain about, the weakening of the pelvic floor muscle, which again leads to incontinence and leakage, urinary leakage. And also, if you've had babies, right? You've been pregnant in the past, you've had babies, you've given, especially vaginal birth, that muscle also tends to get weaker. So you definitely have to, sex is part of it. And this can all be fixed with doing Kegel exercises. Now, I've made lots of videos about this in the past, and I'll give you the specific links at the end of this video about Kegel exercises, which, by the way, works for both men and women. So keep that in mind. Now, another problem with not having sex for a while is a lowered immune system. And, basically the connection with someone, right? Touching and smelling and the cardiovascular exercise of having sex with someone is all beneficial for the immune system. Also, when you tend to have sex with someone, oxytocin and other chemicals increase, which doesn't increase when you're by yourself masturbating. So keep that in mind. Immune system benefits with having regular intercourse with someone. Now, another problem with not having sex for a while is a decrease in libido, basically your drive to have sex. And, this is something interesting to know that, sex is not like a drive that becomes more and more prominent without it, like hunger, right? If you don't eat for a while, you just get hungry and hungry for food. But the opposite happens with sex. When you don't have it for a while, that decrease, the desire for sex starts to, go away for after a while. Initially let's just say you're having sex all the time and then it stops, right? Let's just say you break up. There's that initial drive, you want it because you've your body wants to keep homeostasis and wants to keep things regular. But now if you don't have sex for a while, then your body just gets used to just basically not having sex, and that there's a decrease in that drive. And sex is kind of like a reward system. Basically, when you have good sex, you want more of it, and that reward system also dopamine regulated and controlled. Now, the opposite is again true. When you don't have it, you crave it less. And this causes a decrease in your youth hormones, such as testosterone and so forth. So this is something else to keep in mind. Not having sex for a while decreases your drive, right? And then not having sex decreases your testosterone, which I'll get to this a little bit. So the lower drive, lower testosterone, lower drive. So it's like things just get going bad in a negative direction the longer you don't have sex. Another problem not having sex for a while is the negative changes in your mood, like your emotional state. Basically, it can cause, this happens to both men and women, but it's differently for both. For example, when, for women, sex is emotional. They feel most loved and connected when they have sex, and the things that lead to having sex, right? It's not just the act, it's all the things that lead to it. So keep that in mind, guys. Thus, not having sex for a while, maybe a woman will feel unloved, maybe depressed, they feel anxious, maybe they start to feel stressed. And it's not just an emotional thing for them. When they do have sex and connect with someone, a lot of these happy, positive chemicals get released, such as dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Oxytocin, which is not talked about much, is the bonding chemical, right? So if you don't bond with someone, all these negative things happen. Now, for men, it's different in that when they don't have sex for a while, their self-esteem lowers, all right? Basically, their stress hormone, cortisol, also increases over time, which causes them to feel agitation, maybe short-tempered, and maybe angry at the same time. Now, keep something in mind, when a man gets sex, he feels important. So now, by not having sex for a while, he doesn't feel important. Men, again, not connected, but important. So their self-esteem lowers, and they don't feel as confident anymore. Now, that confidence, the decrease in the confidence when a guy doesn't have sex for a while, especially if he's in a good relationship or in a relationship, that manifests itself in negative ways, right? So, they get angry and they get stressed out, and they can take it out on the relationship. The flip side, again, not having sex for a while in a relationship, again, can cause insecurities in both people, in both relationships. It may be, for example, jealousy or, anxiety, or like, why am I not having sex? What's he doing or what's she doing on the side? And all those negative things. And again, I'll get into deeper reasons for this and how to fix it in a little bit. But again, negative mood with not having sex, it's not just a physical thing, it's also an emotional thing. Another big problem with not having sex for a while is the decrease in testosterone. Keep in mind that testosterone affects everyone, men and women. It's primary driving, hormone for sex, for libido, for getting erections, for arousal, for women, even also, getting lubricated, their clitoris growing and blood flow and, nitric oxide levels. So keep that in mind. Another thing I mentioned earlier, by not having sex for a while, sometimes your cortisol levels, your stress levels will increase. Again, lots of other reasons, but just focusing on sex. As cortisol levels increase, your testosterone levels decrease. Keep that in mind. Your body's under stress, which is cortisol. So your body says, hey, this isn't not the time to procreate. So again, there's a further decrease in testosterone levels. Again, when your testosterone levels drop, the desire for sex drops. And when the desire for sex drops, you're not going to, pursue sex. And then there's a further decrease in testosterone. As I said earlier, lower this, and then lower this, and then lower this, and lower this. Lower testosterone, lower drive, lower testosterone. All this becomes negative. As they say, body in motion stays in motion. In this situation, all these negative hormonal things happen, and not just physically, emotionally. Additionally, for men with the lowered testosterone levels, causes problems with getting erections, right? So lower testosterone, now they're not getting erect. And now, they start to feel, low self-esteem. Hey, I can't get erect. So now they don't even want to have sex because they feel, what if? And then they feel bad. And then, by the way, that negatively happens to the woman now. She might think, hey, what's wrong with me? How come you're not attracted to me? And this and that. And the guy's like, dude, I am. I just don't perform that well. He doesn't realize that it's the testosterone levels. So now testosterone levels drop, anxiety goes up, cortisol levels go up even more, adrenaline goes up even more, and now he's like, ugh, and he starts thinking about it even more. Now the erections definitely don't happen. Even if you take Viagra, you get anxious, cortisol levels, adrenaline go up, Viagra doesn't work, okay? So again, you become in a bad place. Again, everything is a negative round and around circle going down and down and down. That's why you got to keep doing the right things and not the negative things. And again, as I stated, testosterone is important for both men and women. Everybody knows it for men, but women actually have more testosterone than they have estrogen. Why? Because it's needed for them, all right? So both of us improve our drive, our health, everything with optimal testosterone levels that you increase naturally, and I'll tell you more about how to do that a little bit later in the video. Another big one is basically having less intelligence and poor memory when you don't have sex. And I'll get into the science about this, but there was an episode, again, as I mentioned earlier, on Seinfeld, where basically Elaine stops having sex because her boyfriend, so he can focus a lot more on getting his medical license and becoming a doctor. So she thinks he's doing him a good job by not having sex. And then while at the same time, George stops having sex with his girlfriend because she was dealing with some medical problems. So, they both didn't have sex for a little while. And then, the outcome as far as their mindset and their intelligence becomes the opposite. Basically, Elaine becomes dumb and forgetful while George actually becomes smarter. But let me get to that in a second. Just go ahead and watch this short clip.
Yes, I take your order, please.
Excuse me, darling. Do I detect a Portuguese accent?
Sim.
Das cafés uma ensalada grande, por favor.
Muito obrigada, senhor.
No, don't mention it.
Portuguese?
Yeah, my cleaning lady is Portuguese. I must have picked it up.
How come he's getting so smart? I stopped having sex with Ben 3 days ago, and I don't know no Portuguese.
Are you all right?
I don't know. It's the last couple of days, my mind has been kind of, not good.
Wait a second. I know what's happening. The no sex thing's having the reverse effect on you.
What? What are you talking about?
To a woman, sex is like the garbage man. You just take for granted the fact that anytime you put some trash out on the street, a guy in a jumpsuit's gonna come along and pick it up. But now, no sex, it's like a garbage strike. The bags are piling up in your head. The sidewalk is blocked. Nothing's getting through. You're stupid.
I don't understand.
Exactly.
Hopefully you enjoyed that. Basically, so what is it? Does not having sex make you smarter or dumber? Is it more or less intelligent? Well, science has demonstrated that sexual activity boosts neurons, growth neurons, in the brain's hippocampus, right? So that's intelligence and memory and all that. This means that basically having sex is good for your brain as well as your body, as you've learned earlier today. So basically, having sex keeps you young, both physically, mentally, emotionally. And now, in the case of the episode of Seinfeld, because George was not having sex for a while, for a few weeks, his brain was not consumed by sex, right? So it caused him to be more productive, which I find accurate, right? If the guy's always obsessed with sex, he's like thinking about it, he's on porn sites, he's constantly trying to get laid, and he's not being as productive. He's not as focused on other things in his life. However, not having sex technically doesn't make you intelligent as far as the research has shown. So that's a wives' tale myth or whatever. So not having sex is not good for your brain and your intelligence and memory. So the big question now becomes, after those 7 tips, is why aren't people not having sex? As much as they used to. Why is there such a decline? And there's lots of reasons for this. One reason is that people are just so self-consumed with their phones and the internet these days. They're not interacting with each other in the real world, in person like I used to do it. We used to meet people out and about, maybe at the gym, at school, at work, all these different things. Now everyone's at home and someone's just so obsessed with their phones, the internet. So they're not really into it, especially men. They're typically not as social as women to begin with. This is why there's even a bigger decline in sex in men, especially young men. Now, additional huge factor is there is a huge drop in testosterone levels, as you've probably heard in all my previous videos, and this affects both men and women. But men, there's a massive drop, by maybe about 40, 50, 60% over the past few decades. So obviously, again, testosterone affects you, and you're not driven, and then you can't get erections, you can't get erects, and now you're not driven to have sex. Again, as I said, negative spiral all the way, and this testosterone is a huge factor. And remember, another thing is, when you have low testosterone, you're just not even driven to go pursue sex. You're not driven to go find a girl, go date, get to know her better, because you're just like, right? So, or what happens? Most guys will just, quote unquote, just go to porn sites and get their needs met temporarily, but it becomes a negative situation over time. In summary, go ahead and rewatch this video, all the 7 tips. So basically, the bottom line is not having regular sex is not healthy for your body and mind. It's not good for your self-esteem. It's not good for your relationships. And all this is literally, a lot of it is linked to lower testosterone levels, which underneath this video, I give suggestions on how to do it naturally, best type of diet, best exercise program, best vitamins, supplements, because a lot of this is, people are just not doing the right things to help increase their testosterone levels, and they're doing all the wrong things on top of it. So it's like a double negative. My suggestion again is, focus on your life, focus on your relationship, focus on getting out, improve your testosterone levels. You're naturally more driven. And I got a true story. I have my brother, he's like, testosterone drop. He's just not into it. And I'm like, dude, just take some, supplements to improve your testosterone. Change your diet to improve your testosterone. This and that. And he did for a little while, and he was like more driven about it. He was thinking about it more, but then he got lazy and gave up. Please don't be lazy, because this is only going to get worse as you get older. This means it's going to negatively affect your hormones, negatively affect your life, negatively affect the relationships that you're in it, because again, there's a huge factor that happens when you have sex with someone. It's an intimate relationship. Most people are just in like roommate mode. Okay, they're just getting by through the day, and then this ends up causing people to cheat. One reason, one other thing before I end this, when there's a new thing in life, there's increase in dopamine, testosterone levels, right? So one thing is to try to keep your sex life more variety, keep it focused. And again, if you're not seeking sex in a good relationship, healthy relationship, please do so. Optimize your testosterone levels. I put all the links below this video: best diet, best exercise programs, the Kegel exercises that I mentioned, how to improve your testosterone levels with the best, supplements, vitamins, and minerals, and so forth. So let me know your questions below. Hopefully you have better sex in the future because of this video. Share it with someone, or maybe your significant other. And again, leave your questions, comments below. If you're not subscribed, please do so you'll be notified when similar topics are released. As always, thanks for watching. Wishing you a happy and healthy day.